Good morning, sunshine. Welcome to episode 2 of this podcast of the 3 weeks of movie class of sci-fi and horror. I am Will, and this is over here on the right.
Mason.
Over
My
there.
name is Vance. And by the way, that intro was great.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to save up for.
Mine was better.
I might add that in as an outtake just so people can hear it at the end.
Just so Humphrey can hear it at the
yes.
end. But
Let's
so
dive into this. So before we give our citations, I'll let you go from there.
So, for those that don't know that are actually going to watch this YouTube video for some reason, Sunshine 2007, like every great sci-fi movie, the sun's dying. So what do we have to do? Recharge the sun.
With the nuclear, we're not
With
going to give
nu-
too much away.
Yeah,
Here
well,
comes
it's
the
nuke.
sun. Do-do-do-do-do.
And there's the Beatle reference.
You
So
have to make it.
yeah, I know we have to, but like that's just the point. It's literally that, and he was right with the whole all-star cast thing. I mean, Mason will touch on this later with one guy, but you know, he's in a lot of stuff. Captain America's
he played
in it.
basically.
What I was
Yeah.
trying to get at is he's gonna do it.
Well, but just say it now because the build-up is good.
Well, I mean, Cillian Murphy, he's
Yeah.
back. He's Oppenheimer again.
I love what
There's
you said. He was
Oppenheimer
before Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's
He was a
hilarious.
Physicist before physicist. Yeah.
But like his performance in this was pretty good.
Okay, now if you had to pick which was better,
Obviously Oppenheimer.
I thought that was because I've seen both. I thought that was just right up there with it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It was almost up there. I mean Oppenheimer.
It wasn't as good, but it was up there. Like,
And
because
then-
I've seen both.
And then something I was telling him before you showed up. If you think about it, Scarecrow does the same thing.
Not my diagnosis.
But that's the point.
Yeah,
He's almost a physicist, a mad version of it.
like a
But,
messed
like-
up version. Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's all that way.
Do you think going down this idea with actors? I want to start with you, Mason. Do you think there's actors that are made to play certain roles? Like Cillian Murphy plays a lot of physicians. Tom Cruise plays a lot of superhero bad boy
Yeah.
type stuff. Like certain, like Jason Statham's made to play villains in movies. Do you think we should get rid of that stigma or stick with it?
I say we stick with it because there are definitely people who are made for certain roles. I mean, look at RDJ. He is Iron Man. There's no one else.
No, I'm not saying he isn't.
Like-
But I'm saying But do you think roles are like too defined? Like Christian Bale talked about this one time. He said he understands the fact that he's going to be known as Batman. He goes, but I don't want to be. He goes, I have no problem with being known as that, but I'm more than that. I'm an actor, but I'm going to be known as Batman because he's larger than life. He goes, but at some point you have to separate the character from the human.
Well, that's an issue that recently Star Wars has had as well. 'Cause
Yeah, that's a good
Hayden
point.
Christian, back when
They
made,
all hated him. Yeah.
well, no, back when they made the prequel trilogy, Hayden Christensen actually he studied Jake Lloyd's performance
Yeah,
in the Phantom Menace.
I did hear about that.
And then, because he realized he wasn't Anakin Skywalker, he was just portraying Anakin Skywalker. But then they brought him back for Kenobi, and that kind of
And I think
messed with that.
maybe Will knows this better. Didn't for a lot of the early prequel days, the fans did not care for him, and then they all like clamored for him to come back for Kenobi.
Well, for one, everyone was still harping on Jake Lloyd, which don't harp on him. He did what he could. It's Lucas's fault, and everyone else is there for why Jake Lloyd did a terrible
Yeah,
job with being Anakin.
And he didn't come
And
back for a
then-
reason.
As he said, well, it was a 2-year gap,
Yeah.
and it's 11-year jump.
Yeah.
So there's that reason you can't
Well,
just.
they were gonna. I
do
read that they were
that.
gonna bring him back,
Yeah.
but put him in a mask.
But like even then, that still wouldn't make that much sense. But other than that, yeah, I mean, he had a lot to go through with that, and of course the clunky dialogue, etc. But when you realize that under the Disney umbrella, no one likes 7, 8, 9.
So maybe 1, 2, and 3 grew on him. You're saying.
No, what I'm saying is not only that, but like literally everyone's appreciating 1, 2, and 3 more because Lucas had complete control.
So let me ask you-
another thing
Yeah, go
with
ahead.
1, 2, and 3. Nostalgia plays a lot
Yes, it
of role
does.
in it. We're
Great
all the
point.
age now where those movies came out when we were.
where they're old to us now. Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So
we were 5.
yeah, they came out when we were like really young, and so we see them.
Or not even born for
Oh,
you and me. Yeah.
Yeah, but we saw them when we were really young, and so the nostalgia just draws
Yeah.
us back into them.
So, the one thing I want to touch on, because I want to touch on actors real quick, is like there's been movies that have been rebooted. Batman a few times in our lifetime.
A lot
Twice.
of times.
Well, in our lifetime, twice with Christian Bale and now Robert Pattinson. Superman has been rebooted with Henry Cavill. Going to be rebooted again.
3 times.
In our lifetime, 3
Three.
times. Yeah.
Affleck.
06. Whatever.
You
that-
have Bale. Then you've got
Ben Affleck.
Ben
then-
Affleck and Pattinson.
And then the Batman.
No, I'm talking about Superman in terms of how many. There's a movie that came out in 06, Return of Superman. I forget who that actor
Or we were
was.
talking about Batman.
Well, now I'm like moving on from that, like Superman. Like there's like
Okay.
Yeah,
different. What
there's-
I'm saying
How
is,
about Spider-Man? Because there's definitely
there's
That-
been 3. Yeah, there's 100% been 3 of those.
3 in under 10.
Do
10
you
years.
guys
Yeah.
like? Do you guys associate because obviously Tom Holland most of his career is going to be known as Spider-Man, but I think he did a hell of a job in Uncharted. He's did a hell of a job in a lot of other movies. But so back to what you were saying, I think is a really good point. It's hard to separate. Why do you think that is? Because I do agree with you that it's hard to separate certain actors if they do a good job from an iconic role. Why do you feel that is? Because I fundamentally agree with you.
Well, I mean, if they did it when they're put into that role, and they do so well, and if the movie becomes that popular and iconic, then it's like with Robert Downey Jr. You can't see him as anything other than Iron Man now.
Well, the other thing with him, with that one, is when you go down the path that he went down,
Crazy life that he lived.
and then
Yeah.
Iron Man being the one that restarted his life and
Yeah.
his career,
Yeah.
not
that's
only
true.
does our generation only know him as that and a little bit of Sherlock Holmes.
But a lot of other people, there's a lot of controversy he was involved in before he got Iron Man that
Yeah.
ruined his life. Was a drug addict. There was some bad stuff.
Think about this too. All of us know Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. What is
Willy Wonka?
what is the next generation going to think?
Oh yeah.
The abusiveness of what Amber Heard put him
Mhm.
through. No one's going to know Johnny Depp now because of what happened.
They're not going to know him for what you're great at, which is his run.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And like, yes, there are certain roles that can put people there because look at this. Mark Hamill has only done really 2 things really well.
Joker and Batman.
Luke
Or-
and Joker.
Yeah, I was going to say Luke, Luke and Joker.
He's
yeah.
never been physical Joker, but he's been voicing.
Voiced.
And the only reason why he stopped is because his Batman, Kevin Conroy, died.
So after we're done, that's a story for Mason because you've told me about it. So let me ask you guys a question. Like, do you think what Christian Bale said holds any weight? Like, he knows that he'll be known as Batman because he's a larger-than-life, iconic character, but he goes, I'm more than just that. He goes, I was Patrick Bateman. I was Dickie Eklund in The Fighter. Like, he's been a bunch of roles. He was even in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But you don't remember him for that.
I remember.
Like,
But I'm saying most people don't. They remember him as
Go
the
ahead.
lead man in Batman.
To be fair, I remember him as Patrick Bateman.
Oh, one, yeah.
Because
He was great in that movie.
American Psycho, great movie. But I think certain actors, they just have the role that defines them. Say, Tobey Maguire, he is Spider-Man.
I can't think of any of the movies he was in, honestly.
He was in The Great Gatsby. That's the only thing I know.
That's, again,
and
like-
that's because when I saw him, I was like, oh hey, it's Spider-Man.
but like that's
That's what we're saying.
That's the point.
That's what
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
You
But-
can't think of anything.
But
else.
here's the other
But
thing.
like I just said, for Christian Bale, I can think of a lot of different movies.
But not only that, that's also your perception.
Yeah.
Yes, he can say, I don't want to be known as Batman, and
But
he does
understands
other
that
things.
He's going to be.
He understands that he's going to be because
He killed it.
not only that, but Batman is everywhere.
Yeah.
How many people go with his other roles and go, oh yeah, that's a great classic movie with Christian Bale in it?
Well, that's the other thing. Like,
Oppenheimer will go down as that. I think
live-
you and I both agree. Oppenheimer will go down as an all-time classic.
oh yeah. But the other thing is, I live in a household where people don't watch movies and are not like.
I am
So
so
you're
sorry.
like the outcast, like in terms of like watching the movie guy.
Yes, I love movies and I watch them all the time, and I know all the actors in a movie. And so when we're watching something with when we watched Oppenheimer, she saw RDJ and she's like, "Is that Iron Man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's RDJ."
so yeah. So she was so she's doing what a lot of fans do. She knows him for one role. Okay,
It's
Yeah.
also by exposure.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's lack of exposure from it. But to get back to this movie, and yes, it's kind of the same aspect.
It's along the same lines. Yeah.
But the biggest confuffle that this thing has always had, and this was something that was touched on last night, science versus religion.
Now, I'm going to put this out there ahead of time. All 3 of us are religious. We believe a lot of the same stuff in terms of creator. So if you're hoping for something different, unfortunately, there's not going to be. There'll be different perspectives, but it will be around the same idea.
I can be controversial if you want me to.
That's up to
Welcome, welcome to the one religion where we have 7 avenues that explains one
you.
thing.
Yes.
Only
So-
7?
The 7 different
There's
types
a
of
lot-
denominations.
There's more, but those
There's
are the
more than
main-
that, but it's
those
the
are
main
main
7.
ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's 7. I thought there were more.
There's more, but
There is
the
way more,
There's
but
way
there's
more. The
7
main ones
main.
are 7. Yeah. So my question for you guys is, with Science versus Religion, I want to start with one thing, and then I'll let Will take over. Do you guys think that movie? Because our professor made it seem as if there was a lot of that. I only caught glimpses, or I caught like spiritual debates within certain characters. I maybe didn't see it as well as you guys did, but I want your thoughts.
Mason, you want to take that first?
Well, the battle, the final, like once
The
we-
final boss.
yeah, the final boss. Once we got into like the second half of the movie, I think it shone through more than the first half.
Yeah.
Because like that's when the captain from the first
Icarus won.
yeah, he showed up and started messing shit up, and so that was definitely part of it. Yeah, I don't really know what else. I don't know. I could be wrong, but was it the plant supposed to be a metaphor for that sort of?
I honestly was thinking the same thing. That's more of a question for Will because he's really good with like metaphoric stuff.
I was,
Go ahead.
because like the end of the movie, like I think it was foreshadowing. Because the end of the movie,
What?
like they think,
Do you
like
think
the-
the plant is a symbolism for that?
let me explain it. Because the plant was the only thing that survived. Like everything.
The
in
tiny little one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plant, if everything in the greenhouse died except for that one plant, but then, and then like it, I think it foreshadows to the end of the movie where, even
Killing
though
Murphy's
even though everyone on the ship dies, they're able to plant the bomb and save humanity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Well, if you think about it,
When you put it like that, I think that was foreshadowing without even us knowing.
Yeah.
Wally kind of did that same aspect.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've
One
seen that movie.
It's
No,
literally.
I literally saw it.
it's-
And I was
It's
like,
been so
it's
long
the
since
plant
I've
but-
seen
from
that.
Wally.
Think about it. It's in the same format. It's the little stub and the 2 things on the side. It is the same type of microscopic plant,
Yeah.
showcasing that even when shit goes to hell and shit hits the
There's
fan,
still a little bit of hope.
doesn't matter if it's science related or God, life finds a way.
Yeah.
So with one of these sources that I have from, I cannot spell this. I can spell it. I can't pronounce it.
Let me see it.
Papa Quare. Pop OPTIQ. Yeah, that.
Let me see it. Pop optic.
Thank you. So that, basically, that's where I found the religion versus science debate, and it says it's a Mass Quandering as an unlikely thriller because most people don't understand how you can make a decent movie with both concepts. And honestly, it actually works because there are moments where, yes, as Vance said, moments you see the direct God and the conflict within them. You also see the direct science guy, literally the
Physicist.
physicist, thank you. His whole thing is literally the same thing, being like straight up science. And when the computer goes, "You're dying," and he knows, it's like
He accepts it.
he accepts it, and being like, and the same thing with when from the captain from Icarus One goes, "Are you an angel?" He goes there, and like I said last night, the coolest part and what really showcased that was, here's the sun, which is supposed to showcase God, with his Big Bang scientific recreation of the restart of the sun collectively going together, and that's kind of where, for me, that all worked, was that.
I
And
think that's a good way of going about it. Do you see anything with that in terms of like a deeper aspect, even deeper than like how you just went about it?
I mean, I even am going back to the whole like Wally connection thing too, being like, and as I said last night, no matter what way you believe, God or science or nothing, no matter what mankind will do to either save, not save, whatever it works, and whatever it may be, nature will always find a way to do what it's going to do no matter what. Even if it's a God intervention of nature, or nature just taking care of itself because of God's creation, or nature just being nature if God isn't non-existent. Because in that universe, because it's fictional, we don't know if God exists. Because that's a whole other wormhole that I won't truly go down, because in every universe that is made from a film, it can counter what we think of as God, but you don't know if God exists within that universe.
Right.
And that one person might think, like the guy that was burned up for Icarus 1, he goes, I've met God, so in that universe, there could be, there could not be, because only one person has seen God.
Right.
So do you want to take that from there, Mason, with your stuff?
Going off of the whole religion thing, according to my source, which is medium.com, the characters form an amazing religious allegory. These characters, I don't know what the name of the characters are, or who the actors are that played which characters, other than Cillian Murphy, but here we go. Cyril, Kaneda, and Corazon all represent characters of faith. Cyril is awed by it, Kaneda is inspired by it, and Corazon worships the life she can spread. They all happen to die surrounding their faith, too. Kaneda faces the sun, that's the captain, because knowing he's dying for what he believes in. Cyril sacrifices himself to save 3 other crew members and sits in the unprotected observation deck of the Icarus 1. And Corazon dies in a state of euphoria, having found a plant that survived in a pile of rubble where the garden used to be. Whereas Mace, Trey, and Harvey represent atheists.
They didn't say anything about Kappa, really.
Yeah. Okay, then Mace, while flawed, provides invaluable leadership and makes a noble, selfless sacrifice. Trey is put on suicide watch after his mistake cost Kaneda his life. Was his death more beneficial for the crew, or might he have helped them in new ways? Harvey's departure was bleak, but he cared more about his own self-preservation over the mission. Then we have Cassie and Kappa. They are the only members of the Icarus II to reach the sun, and they might best be classified as moderates. They aren't outright spiritual, but they both have character-defining moments which are at odds with the rational scope of the mission.
That I 1000% agree with you for a couple reasons. With Kappa especially, because there was a quote when I think Will said it. They said, "You're dying." He goes, "I accept it." It seems to me like he's accepted that.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think the Rotten Tomatoes score
Um,
was for this?
Critic or fan?
Let's go audience first.
Give us a range.
I'll put it in the 80s.
Lower than that.
I had a
Seriously?
feeling. I had a feeling. Yeah.
Damn.
It's a big movie, but it's not like huge.
I thought it was good, though.
I think it was good too.
Yeah.
74.
One down.
73?
Mhm.
Dang, I was right there. Okay.
Nice.
Now, let's do fan score.
That was the
Oh, let's do
audience.
the, critic score, sorry.
Go 3 up.
76, okay.
So
About
it's
about similar.
even. It's
Just
about
like
even.
yesterday.
No, the one it
No,
was.
that was 88-92.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
was
close,
10.
yeah.
It was close, but this is like
closer.
This is like no one knows,
This is 3 off. That was 4 off. Yeah.
because literally, this is actually surprising coming from a movie that's doing God and science side by side and exploring both very
If
well.
I'm being 100%
yeah.
honest, before yesterday, I've never heard of that movie.
no,
me
I
neither.
haven't either.
But
But like it handled.
it did
here's
what it
our-
did good.
It did its job well. Yes.
Here's our science explanation of the world. Here's God. And the allegory of the sun literally being it. And like how Humphrey put me on the spot, being like, if I was in that position, and I said, literally, if you look at the 2 characters, the guy that's burned up from Icarus 1 being all in flame,
Yeah.
and Wong's character, I forget his name. I'm going to use Wong because that's how
Trey,
I
I
know
think,
him.
was his name of the
But
movie.
how he sacrificed, and I go, it's Jesus split into 2 characters, the sacrificial part and then the God part. Literally, you're also looking at how one would ethically handle this situation from a moral standpoint, and what a immortal, mortal being of a god would handle this. Also known as a god complex, sadly, but
I think you also mentioned something in class yesterday that I want you to touch on here, which was you mentioned how the "what do you see" at that part of the movie. You said that you had taken a lot from that.
yeah, I mean, for me, the "what do you see" thing, and it's literally the guy asking someone that is about to die, and like obviously seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You know how we all have that.
Literally and figuratively.
Not in that sense, literally, but like for all of us that are going to die, we eventually always hear this rumor that when you're about to die,
You see the light.
you're gonna see the light, or you're gonna see
But I'm saying for
internal
him,
darkness.
literally.
Yeah, but in the metaphor of that,
Yeah.
he's asking him, "Do you see the light?" As if you are a believer, asking someone that you know is about to die, "Do you see the light, or do you see internal darkness?" Because if you are dying and you see one or the other, then you know which way you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
Or
take
if nothing
from
goes
that?
anywhere.
Because when he said that yesterday, what do you take? Because when he said that, it made me even contemplate it deeper.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's right. Like, he wanted to see what he saw because, he wanted to, maybe he wanted, like, to know if God was real or not.
I think the two guys that died were both believers, if I'm not wrong. Or one of the two guys you mentioned, like in that scene, the guys talking to each other, I think they were both believers.
And I think by the end, by the time they all perished, they all became
The only
believers.
one I don't know about was Harvey because, again, he froze to death.
Yeah.
He was the only one because he didn't die on the ship.
Yeah, but he also struck me as, I told Humphrey this, he remember how he claimed to be the leader? Self-proclaimed, though.
Too
No
proud
one
to be.
gave him the role.
The two,
No, he was the second in command.
the two people that weren't quote unquote, if we're going from a spiritual perspective instead of science, the two that didn't make it to heaven that died in that movie was the guy that was literally on fire and from Icarus One and thought he had the God complex, and the guy that was too proud to
Harvey, yeah.
literally not do anything, and he died in space with his arm getting cut off. Those would be the two people in my mind that
What was the
wouldn't have
guy's
seen the
name?
light.
Yeah. What?
Paybacker or something?
Pinbacker?
Pinbacker or something? Yeah, I think that was his name.
Pinbacker. Wait, where is it? It's right here.
Pinbacker?
Yeah, Pinbacker.
Okay. Pinbacker and Harvey.
Yeah.
Harvey was the first name, though.
And Trey was Wong's.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Character.
it was. All right, so I'm going to do mine. So mine, I used, it's actually called Pilgrim Visions.
Okay.
And it talked about how it's called Religion and Fundamentalism in the movie Sunshine.
Okay.
The other week, I watched the 2007 science fiction film Sunshine, a box office flop that got moderately positive reviews from critics, with some considering it a masterpiece. It tells of a small crew on a desperate mission to reignite a dying sun and save humanity. There is much to admire about the film's visual design, acting, and storytelling elements. Like many critics, I did grow increasingly unenthused with the horror suspense sequence that morphed in the last act, but nevertheless, my overall experience was positive. The shift in tone at the climax is affected when an antagonist crashes the scene, the disfigured and crazed Captain Pinbacker. After deliberately sabotaging his own mission, he was abandoned to himself on Mercury for years. Now he wanders around the protagonist ship, murdering its crew, and explains his motives along these lines. The sun, the source of all human existence, is dying. While alone in the cold insensibility of space, he has a religious experience and realizes that the human existence is so insubstantial, it ought not to interfere with what God wills it. It must allow the sun and humanity to die, and so, metaphorically, find heaven. Conceptually interesting, the character is a little more than a ranting monster on screen. That said, the characters played a role invested with deep thematic significance, for he is intended as pointed allegory for religious fundamentalism. So, before I go on, do you guys agree with that? Do you guys think that he was more of a monster than religious freak that he claimed to be? Because that threw me off guard, seeing him going on that kill spree. But if I'm being honest, I didn't expect that. And I'm going to be 100% honest here because that's what this podcast is. If that didn't happen, I feel like the movie might have done better. I'm going to be completely a buck with y'all.
Want to take that one first?
Well, first they needed to have some horror in there because we are in a horror class.
I
so-
get that, but I'm saying for that movie, I don't think that was needed.
Okay, that's fair, but they also needed a third act protagonist somehow, and either one of the crew members was gonna go crazy, or an alien, or that. So
I mean,
An alien would have made sense as they are in space, and it is like 2060.
yes, but not in that context.
no, they never once said aliens.
It's like
But
if
would
you
anyone have been shocked? It's the year 2057. Would
actually, I
anyone
would have
shocked?
been. I would have been.
Also would have been shocked if they threw
Because
an alien in there.
The whole premise is not let's go find life. It's let's go to the sun.
But I think the alien would have proved science's side a lot.
And even then, if you want to get even more deeper with that, when we get transported, when God says it's time to
To
end
go home.
everything else, what's the one thing Satan's going to use to explain our disappearance?
Good point.
So we are aliens. If you want to get down to it, a
Yeah.
person that believes in Jesus, if that's
That
the way
nitty-gritty, yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're supposed to be, that's what we are.
yeah.
And like literally, that still would have thrown it off. And yes, I do believe that the third act did need to have something, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. It would have worked with or without it. It would have been more interesting if what threw me off was it wasn't someone that was already someone that you knew. It was someone that you presumed to be dead that went and became crazy. I
So
knew.
that's what, did you like that?
I liked it because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like Chris Evans to snap and just start going ham.
Off on
Yeah,
somebody,
I thought
He was the character I
So-
really thought was going to snap.
Let me finish right here because
Yeah.
this is an interesting part. The director Danny Boyle explained in numerous interviews that Pinbacker represents fundamentalism and is basically, as the director describes him, the Taliban. Hear me out though. Once describing him as medieval on his ideas and what he believes. One of the stars of Sunshine, Cillian Murphy, told the press that working on this film moved him from agnosticism to definite atheism because the film to him highlighted the conflict between science and religion, or science instead of fundamentalism. So he went from believing there could be a God to straight there is no God. Because he was agnostic, he's no longer. And then here you go. One need to hardly look outside the film itself to perceive the theme. The heroic crew, in their various ways, all seem oddly indifferent to religion. Some analog to spiritually appears only in the form of fascination with the deadly power of the sun, a force of madness threatening the crew's mission by undermining its ethics of survival. And lastly, it is this that would seem to that would seem to be the source of Pinbacker's deadly transformation as he stands naked before the sun and lets it ravage his body and mind. Whatever his ideas were, representations clearly originate from the dark, irrational side of human nature. And this has chosen to describe as fundamentalism. And then it goes into a little bit about the science side of it. It says they compared a lot of the characters that were like non-religious, but like the good side, like Cillian Murphy's character and Harvey, more so it says on here, Harvey, who is not religious, they compared him to Trotsky and Marx because he wanted all-seeing power. He wanted overruling power, which, as you see, before he dies, I forget what he says, he's like, I'm the captain, you'll give me that suit. I feel like that right there could describe those two men I just mentioned. Leon Trotsky and Karl Marx.
It's called a
I'm
god.
the leader. Give me that suit.
It's called also a god complex.
He felt like
Absolute
he had
power.
one. Yes.
Absolute power corrupts. Literally, you had someone that became a godlike entity, and someone that thought no one else is duty enough and man enough or woman enough or able to handle this job. Complex, which is a god complex. Therefore, I'm in charge. I need to survive, no matter if he can do that job better or not. I'm in charge. Therefore, that's why that is the way it is. And I mean, it's, again, like, to go off him soaking in the sun. If you really think about it, God even tells us don't spend so much time with me, because if you spend all the time with me, how can you go and
Enjoy the things of the world. Yeah.
not just enjoy, because you're not supposed to enjoy too much,
No.
How do you recruit people for him?
recruit people. Like even this, water is good for you. It's the best thing to drink. But if you drink too much
You get
of
sick of it.
you drown yourself from the inside.
Or you get sick of it.
So
yeah.
everything, even if it's everything is good in moderation. So even with a relationship with God, overboard is bad. Drinking water, overbearing it, bad. Same thing with this. There is some things we should never touch, but there is things that are monetarily good, but if you only focus on such things, it's bad. And even if you look at it from a science perspective, if you spend so much time in the laboratory trying to get something right, you go cuckoo because you have cabin fever.
Yeah.
If you enjoy life for what it is, like I forget her name, but the one that died with the plant, like
Yeah.
stop to look at the little things, literally. That's
Yeah.
what she did. She stopped and smelled the roses. There's a reason she liked the greenhouse, because she liked the small, insignificant, little bitty life form. And she goes, it's more than just the food. It's more than just that. It's like, as long as there's life on this ship that isn't just human, this mission is going to be worth it. And the greenhouse for her is a reminder of why she's doing the mission, which is why she's the only one to go in there when the microscopic plant is there and sees it. And that's where he killed her, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, it's, you died where it was. And as I said, Chris Evans' character, I believe, did see the light at the end of the thing.
I agree with you.
Because the entire movie, he was an arrogant asshole. I'm not going to deny that he wasn't. But like, by the end,
and he's like blaming everything on everyone else.
but like, he's saying, like, to quote Spock, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He's like, yes, we can go and do this thing and go on the opposite side.
What's the
and
consequence from
rendezvous.
it?
And we saw the consequence. They were off by a millimeter.
1.1.
1.1 millimeter or a percent.
1.1%. Yeah.
Regardless of that, it was off by a meter because he didn't math right, which I understand. I understand completely. You can't math all the time. It's great. But like, his thing is, his argument was,
He didn't adjust the shield.
but Chris
Yeah.
Evans' argument was literally, we can't do that. We're already there. We got 3 to 4 more days here.
And we don't
And
have enough
then we-
oxygen for all of us if we go to Icarus 1.
There's that, and then therefore it would have all been averted. But they were like, well, we don't have enough food now to make it back, regardless if we make it to the sun or not. And then the whole argument of there's 2 shots instead of 1, and the entire thing was a bust anyway, regardless if he was on the ship or not,
Yeah.
because the thing was broken. Like, there's I can see where we need to make sure people are alive, blah blah blah. I get it, but if you can say that it's 6 years from the conception of when it went down, someone should have logically, if this wasn't a movie, logically placed they're dead.
Yeah.
Do you... Okay, I don't know why, and I could be going a little crazy. Did that ending... Not the ending. Did the Icarus computer that's kind of like Alexa in your phone or like Siri in your phone, did it give you 2001 Space Odyssey vibes? It gave me that.
It all does. It doesn't matter what the movie is. It's talking AI.
I mean, Oblivion does that with Sally. Hank does... is it Hank in 2001?
Hal.
Hal, okay.
It's Hal.
Hank and
it's-
Hal, yeah.
If we want to go back to Wall-E, it's Otto.
It's
there's-
Icarus in this one.
And then Ivan and Lightyear. Like, you have so many, like, computer taking over technological wise.
And of course.
And even in Alien, there's, I forget the name of it.
I forget it.
Yeah.
Mother. It's Mother.
Yeah.
But there's every science fiction thing has a talking computer outside of Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah.
If you've
Well,
realized
I mean,
that.
I would say the only way in Star Wars is kind of light speed because that is through a computer.
I wasn't
because
talking
you have to
about.
and then click a button.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about a talking computer that talks to
An
everyone
AI.
in the
in
ship.
a way that could be because I'm saying you have to because that's not something we can do right now.
Yeah, but they can
Yes.
do it in the movie.
I'm not talking about that. Name any instance in Star Wars and name any instance in Star Trek where the computer talks to any one of the
If
people.
we're gonna get to the nitty gritty, me personally, me,
Okay, yeah.
R2D2, C3PO. That's me. They're computers that can talk.
Yeah, no.
Yes,
robots.
in the ship, within the actual combunctions of the ship. Does Darth Vader talk to the Death Star?
I forget who it was. Didn't they throw something at the end of 9 in the ship? So it's always.
Oh wait, no. In
Yeah.
Wait, in Solo. Remember?
Yeah.
But
he
it
uploaded
wasn't-
His
Yo,
droid
I'm right.
to-
Yep.
It wasn't
They
talking, though.
You're right. It wasn't. But
That's my point.
They
There is
uploaded it though.
yes, uploading a microscopic brain power of that is different than it talking to you. Has ever Han Solo talked to the ship?
Well, he talks to it, doesn't talk back.
That's the point. He talks to it. It doesn't communicate
I
back.
was just thinking, like, in terms of like computers, because at base level for me, the sassy golden android and the thing that goes beep boop, those things are computers.
they
at
are
at a
computers.
base level.
No,
they're
we're
a
talking
computer.
about an AI, artificial intelligence.
That's
That's
those
in
are
a ship. In a
I'm not saying
actual
within a
ship.
ship. I'm saying
we're
that's,
talking
I don't
about
care
in
how
a
That's what we're
ship,
saying.
no
though.
matter how you slice it, that's AI.
We know it's AI. We're
We're
not
talking
talking about
in a
robots.
ship, though.
We're talking about the ship that the characters mainly go in. Does the ship itself talk? No. Robots on the ship and operate the ship talk to Luke. Yes, R2. But the ship itself, the X-Wing does not talk to Luke Skywalker. But the mother talks to Ripley. And in this thing, Icarus 2 talks to everybody. Hal talks to whoever.
I also thought the Icarus creeped me out for one reason, because the one thing that scares me with AI is exactly what that movie did justice with. Is when it doesn't want to work, it doesn't want to work. When it can cut, when it wants to cut out, it wants to cut out.
Have you ever played with ChatGPT before?
Yes,
Then how are you scared by this?
because there's a lot we can get into, but again, it's a movie that we can't. There's a lot we can get into here, but because it's about the movie and we got 4 minutes, we can't.
I was gonna use AI for my senior thesis, so if any of you want to help me with that,
Yo, you got 3 years, bud.
I know, but I gotta think about that.
Oh, no, I've already thought of my own
I already
with
know
it.
what I'm
But
doing too.
it's literally whatever. But, like, I agree with him to an extent. I mean, granted, movies have ruined us.
Movies have ruined us, but I feel like if
It's-
you look, there's a human element there where for me, AI, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'll get into it a tiny bit. My mom posted something about it. The Chinese have created, they're literally, they're calling them humanoids.
Yeah.
They're
It's
androids.
human skin. Like they look like humans. They have human skin, but they're robots.
Where'd they get that
Data.
much skin?
It sounds like Data.
They're using the skin of dead people, like newly deceased.
That's cool.
But they're not telling them. They're just doing it. I'm not making this up either. I'll show you the video.
It's
I
called Data.
believe you.
It
It's
freaked me the
the
hell out.
Chinese,
Dude.
I believe it.
There's all that. Plus, if you think about it, Elon Musk might bring the Terminator to reality.
See, why are we wasting our time on that instead of making actual lightsabers?
Do you know why?
We can't
Because
find
it's
Kyber.
Because Kyber crystals are made from a dying star.
Okay, go to
Uh,
a fucking dying star.
How are we gonna get there?
You
Our
use
sun
the
is
sh-
dying, by the
you-
way.
You
so
use the ship from the movie to fly into it, and you wait till the sun dies, then you collect the Kyber crystals.
tell me that when you don't die getting to the
Exactly.
sun first.
Yeah, you'll get.
Technically, we could get a Kyber crystal from Mercury.
Then let's go
It's
to
or
fucking
Venus.
Mercury.
It's actually Mercury's gonna be really hot. Yeah, Venus
Mercury's
will be hot, too.
technically Mustafar if you want to get into the details there.
Yeah, I know that, but
But like literally, Terminator says AI is bad. I mean,
I'll
there's.
be back.
I mean, you were there with the script writing. I literally wrote my entire thing based off of. AIs.
Rain, yeah. You
Based off-
originally called it Ryan. You changed it to Rain.
Yeah, but still, the whole point was more AI.
So before we got
Ultron.
2 minutes. So
Well, I
we
was
got
about
2
to
minutes.
Say Ultron.
So we have 2 minutes. So
We can go over 40 minutes.
Okay, so so explain to him your story and because I loved it personally.
Basically, it's
This is
Our-
really good.
basically our AI thing.
Yeah.
Take that, put that into a school.
Think of like Hal, but like deadly
Think how Alexa put everything put together
and like deadly.
in one.
Okay.
What Ultron was trying to do, put it with that, but you're talking to Alexa / Hal. It doesn't understand it. The main purpose and why it's bad is the same reason Ultron did. It was trying to explain life.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't explain why everyone had a choice but it. Therefore, try to create, never got further into it because time expired on
Yeah,
the
we in
whole,
class right now.
Nice.
not class, the whole expiration date on the free trial. I'm not paying.
Yeah, that's also
But
true.
like literally, you have that. but like that was the purpose. And I'm like thinking, I'm no different than everyone making a movie. Everyone can't think of any other idea. So literally, it's
Yeah, but they
either
just- but how
the same
how
thing.
you wrote it worked.
it might have worked, but literally, it's a concept that has been overused. We
you
need
know
to
why I
figure
think
out
it's
new
overused
concepts.
because I think it's overused because we're
That's
so
our
close
fear.
to it.
That's also our fear.
Yeah, we're so close to it, but we're also so far from it because we have like if this is AI.
That's
like,
a
Yeah.
phone.
Siri is AI.
Yeah, I
But
know.
we don't I think the reason we're scared of it is we don't understand it because we're so close to understanding it. But how close are we're close, but how close are we? I think is
think-
what it is.
To think,
We don't understand shit.
That's what I'm saying. But we think we do.
No.
think AI.
No, a lot of scientists think they have this figured out. I've watched a lot of interviews. A lot of scientists think they have AI figured out
And I can think.
per their own words.
Okay, I can think. I'm gonna jump off the building and become Superman.
I think. You know what my opinion is. I don't agree with the scientists. I think we'll find a way to contain it, but we'll never understand it.
No.
We'll find a way to contain it. I believe.
Well, the thing is,
no, we won't.
I truly believe we will.
I
We
don't-
have to.
no, we won't because guess what? Thanks to modern life, thanks to modern life. Now we need this stuff to be able to function.
We can't function without it. Therefore,
We can't get rid of it unless we get rid
It
of
does-
all technology.
here's the thing. It doesn't need to be Terminator Ultron level to be a threat. We can barely do anything. Like literally, you're proving the point right now.
Okay, so they've covered.
We're all proving it by doing a podcast.
Funny enough-
Did you guys see the newest Mission Impossible movie? Because they
Yes.
covered,
Yes, I did.
they covered that so well in that movie. Because like
Oh gosh, what was his name? Oh,
Dark
I know.
Protocol.
The thing I had
The
like,
name of the
white
movie.
dots. Oh gosh,
I forget what it's called.
It doesn't matter. The point is, it's an artificial intelligence
that
that
thing can shoot a gun though.
Yeah, so can most artificial intelligence in
What I'm
movies.
getting at is
it couldn't
from-
shoot a gun. It could think of everything else. It was the algorithm.
I think
Yes.
I honestly believe
It predicted
wholeheartedly
everything.
we'll never understand AI, but I think we'll be able to contain it if
How?
it gets out of hand. You ever heard of a virus?
They're
That's-
just gonna use the virus to infect us.
This is
What do you think
we're
COVID
not.
was?
But here's the thing: we're not. I'm saying there's a way to use a virus for AI. They've demonstrated this, and Elon Musk has demonstrated this. Political people have demonstrated. I'm not saying we have to like them, but they've demonstrated how this
okay,
is
but
done.
I'm saying the,
You overwrite its programming.
But
the
that's
AI
that's very easy to do.
but the
Yes.
AI can then overwrite that overridden.
Not only all of
someone
that,
has to know to do that though.
Not-
'Cause my point is who creates AI? Humans created artificial intelligence. So the person that
AI
if-
can
if
make their own
wants-
AI now.
Okay, but here's the thing: they have to know to do that. If you don't know to do that, you don't like. That's like me
They
telling you.
know how to do that. That's my point. They know how to make their own AI.
Not
AI
only
have
that-
the knowledge to make their own
Well,
AI.
not only all of that, you know that when you delete something off the internet, it's never really gone.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way to delete.
That's the
anything.
point. You can delete the virus and get rid of it now, but it would be a pain later down the line. That's why in the MCU, Ultron is still a threat without being a forefront.
That's why they had to
'Cause he
destroy
escaped into
every
the
robot.
internet. Do you know how many comics it took to destroy Ultron?
Do you
He's still not dead.
do you think? There's a way I'm trying to word this without being
Political.
yes. Do you think technology? And I want you to be completely honest here, because I'll go first, even if it makes you guys feel better. Do you guys think technology has helped or ruined lives?
Oh, it
And it's
ruined it.
You say both. It's one or the other. You can only choose one. What do you think?
Okay, so what do you mean by that? Because
Do you think it has made life better for the human population or worse?
It ruined it.
I am with him 1,000%. It's ruined lives.
well, what kind of technology are we talking about?
Technology,
In
anything-
general, just
technology in
across the
general.
board.
well, then-
Technology.
Yeah, no, that
Oh,
ruined it.
yes.
I was thinking like if we're talking medical stuff. Then
No,
that
that's
helps.
I consider those advancements.
Okay.
Even then, it's still bad because we have been able to prolong people's lives
How is
well
that
past.
a bad thing?
Because God, what does God say? Think about it biblically. No one shall live over 120. We are playing God when we have meddled in medical.
True.
We are playing God when we control everything we do, microscopic to the millisecond.
I don't
Through
I
this.
don't believe I don't know anywhere in the Bible where it says 120. I just don't.
Old
Actually-
Testament.
What I thought it was 70.
Old
That's
Testament.
the average lifespan
That-
is around 70, 75. Yeah.
No, it says no longer after 120 because how long did Abraham live? How long did everyone in the Old
Well,
Testament
you
live?
know why those people lived so long? We've actually
Because
I don't believe-
the will of God.
there's not much in science, but you actually I'm not much for like I'm not like a big guy in terms of like believing in science. I believe like
You don't believe in science.
I believe in physical
What
evidence.
the fuck do you call this?
I believe in physical. You know what? I believe in physical evidence first. I'm not going to believe something. I'm not going to believe what a scientist says just because they think they have something. I believe in facts and evidence. That's what I believe in terms of science.
Okay.
What I mean by that is this. So every generation, there's different generations, right? Generation X, Gen Z, baby boomer, all this
Yeah.
stuff. Do you know why the first humans lived way longer than we do? Because every generation, this has actually been proven. Every generation, when you have a kid, you give the kid your cells, right? But you give the kid less cells than you have. So the first humans, they weren't lacking cells because they were the first human beings. God created Adam and Eve. They have better cells because they were created by God. Their cells were better than ours. Every generation you go down the line, cells get less and less. You're going to either live long. Sometimes you live longer, sometimes you won't.
But
we would have all lived the same had sin not entered. But
that too. But no, that doesn't even make sense.
That makes 1,000% sense.
No, it doesn't.
It actually, the way the scientists explained it was better than me. But
cells, like I would have more cells
Will
than Will.
Will
because
understands
I
it.
am bigger than Will.
Not bigger. The older people, the parents have more cells than the kid. That is factually proven.
But because I am bigger than Will, I would have more cells than him, right?
Not
That
age-wise, he would have more than you.
no. Because
age-wise, I would have less because I'm older.
Yes, but your cells are your cells have died more, but you would have more because
Yeah,
you were
but-
born earlier. Is what I'm saying.
I have more body weight on me. That would make
I
me
actu-
have more cells.
I actually see both sides as well as the biblical thing because it's like you have your side. I get it. You pass less. That makes sense. But it makes
100%
sense. But also, body mass, you have to have more cells in order to be what
They
God
did it-
created you to be.
Funny
Football.
enough, they did a cell count on my
How do you count all the cells in someone?
it's
Science, the thing he doesn't believe in.
BMI. BMI is what that is.
That's body mass index.
Body mass index is. There's also a way to
It's-
calculate
it's
cells
science.
within that.
It's
I-
science.
I believe in science, but I believe in proof
That
first.
sounds like more math than science.
Body
Math
mass
is
index
science.
is body
Damn.
mass index is more math than anything. But what they said within BMI is you can weigh more. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to lift more or have more cells or be more powerful. Weighing more doesn't mean as much as people think it does in terms of
You know what I was?
sports. It honestly doesn't.
You know what I was taught about BMI here at Teal?
It's not. You know how, with baseball, do you know what leverage is?
What?
You guys know what leverage is?
No.
Leverage is you use the weight you have to make the best of a situation. So
Yeah.
I played with some teammates of mine who were sick.
So it's-
One kid was a D1 athlete, 6'4", 240. I was at the time. This was right before I broke my nose. I was 5'10", 180. I was a string bean comparatively. He was 60 pounds heavier. I wasn't as good of a player as him, but I used my leverage better than him because
Yes, I get
he
that.
was
That's-
growing fast, so he was all clumsy. My leverage was I had then I stopped growing for a while, and then now I'm 6'2". So my leverage is, okay, I can hit a ball well. I'm going to use that to my best of my ability. That's leverage. Is how well you use what you're given. That's leverage.
That's called skill. That's literally
Well,
skill.
leverage is if I say go hit a curveball, you can't hit a curveball. That's you have bad leverage, or you're not seeing it good.
You can also work on it, hence.
You can't work on hitting a
You're-
curveball. I'll be
yes,
honest.
you can't. It's literally.
Do you know what percent? As someone who played baseball, you know what percentage of the population can hit a curveball? 0.2%.
Okay, that's why
Great.
you have to work
That's
on
That's
the
it.
like no-
1.2% who give a
0.2.
crap to make the time to hit a curveball.
0.2%.
That's called a skill issue.
It's a 1.2% of people that give a crap to try to hit it. That's the
not hard to
difference.
hit.
You
That's your math. That's
Yeah.
your science.
Yeah.
That's the podcast.
Yeah, BMI.
Wendy's time, bitches.
I think